Yo, what up, people? It's your boy, ThaLiveKing, coming at you with a quick video. And 2K finally released their blog, gameplay blog, for NBA 2K23. I'm not going to go through everything, but I'm just going to mostly talk about the defense, because one thing about 2K is the defense is either hit or miss. Last year, it was pretty good, but it just felt like you were just warping all over the place, and it wasn't creating a fun, balanced experience. So one thing I felt that they should always have done is try to work on the under the hood foot planting mechanics that they have in the game. Try to like refine it a bit more so the game will be easier to balance on both ends. So I don't think that's what they did anyway, but they actually went through a bunch of changes that they did, especially for on-ball defense. So here it says, this year we've created a system that evaluates the defensive player's contesting hand throughout a window of shooting motion. This larger sample set provides way more accurate results and helps line up the coverage numbers to what players expect on what they see happening on the screen. So I guess before they had like a simple system. Here it says it was like a 2-point system based on the location of where the defender was when the shot started compared to like when it finished. So as long as there's more variety on how you can defend in certain areas. I remember when I was at EA Sports Studio, I actually saw how they did the rebounding animations, and they had this was for like NBA Live 13, so this was a long time ago, but they had, when you talk about specific points, they'll have like a window above the basket or whatever, and there'll be like dots all over the place where the player can pick up the ball. So what I'm assuming is that the more dots they have, the better you can get better results if there's more dots. That's what I'm getting from what they did here. So if they only had a 2-point system compared to what I saw like at EA Studio or whatever when they did the rebounding, the defense really needed an overhaul if that was the case. So if they have more, specific points where you can guard in the paint, it might free up a lot more space. So there probably won't be a lot more warping in the paint. Two-man animations won't really dictate a lot of the outcomes. But when I saw two specific points, I don't like the way 2K has their animations. That to me, I think that's very basic for what they have. So I'm glad they improved the more specific points, because defense was just hit or miss in the game. And when you're making sliders and stuff, none of that stuff matters if they don't fix what's under the hood. So interesting change right there. On-ball defense, the floor game, on-ball defensive movement and body ups received a major refresh with new content that more accurately depicts today's one-on-one player interactions. You'll notice a new indicator on the ball handler when in guarding position. This is the new defensive shading mechanic. So the bar underneath the fatigue bar is a new defensive shading mechanic. Interesting. The 3 bars on the indicator represent 3 zones: straight up, shade left, and shade right. Very simple. The zone the defender is in is shown in red. If the ball handler attempts to attack the red lane, they'll get cut off if they lose their dribble or fumble the ball. Interesting. So it's pretty much a mini game. So if you've played WWE 2K22, it's kind of like the same thing, but not really. But it's kind of like it's a mini game within a game. So it's pretty much that concept. That's what I'm getting from it. Great defenders can anticipate where the ball handler is attacking and will now be more clearly rewarded for it. The shading system works for both on-ball defenders guarding the perimeter as well as the post, and does a good job communicating to both the offensive and defense why the collisions resolve the way they do. So that's a good addition into the game. Now it's not like you try to go left or right and then an animation will just kick in and then you'll end up picking up the ball. So that's a good addition. I did release a video a couple days ago, or was it last week, and I saw the 3 dots on the 3 tier bar system or whatever you want to call it in there. So We thought it was something else, but I guess that's what it is. Shot blocking, they improved that. I don't want to get too much into that because as long as there's no canned blocks like how they normally have it, I'm good with it. Steals and ball strips, same thing. Ball strips are new and improved this year with tons of new content and better coverage. So if you're a small, quick defender, quick hands can be as just effective in slowing down slasher bigs in the paint. Okay. We've also added fail strip contact layups to make sure defenders' steal inputs are respected instead of getting ignored. Interesting. They probably just refined that because those were already in the game. When the ball does get knocked loose by a block or a steal, you'll see a greatly improved sideline awareness during scramble plays. Pickup near the out-of-bound lines are much more reliable, as are diving ball saves that throw the ball back into play. So a lot of this stuff really requires better foot planting. So we'll see how it plays out. This stuff usually is stuff that you have to actually see when you're in game. Offensive improvements. Instead of predetermining between a team's top scorer and who should be getting lion's share of the offensive possession, the AI coach performs pregame matchup evaluations, adding more weight to the players with better matchups. It's also dynamically changed weights as the outcome goes based on efficiency for each scorer on the floor. If LeBron James has a better matchup and is scoring well, the game plan will dive deeper and add more weight to the plays he's most successful with. On the flip side, the AI will adjust if the primary scorer is struggling. So if LeBron is having an off night, you will see the second and third scoring option get more plays for. That's interesting. But I don't want the AI to determine all this stuff for me. Like, I want to be able to go in the settings or go into the timeout, and I want to be able to do all this stuff myself. I know with the defensive, they actually said you can do it, but I'm just seeing AI. But the AI is doing a lot of stuff for us in the game, and that's one thing I really don't like about 2K. So they say dynamic game plans give us flexibility in how the AI chooses to scheme their offenses from one game to the next. AI coaches will track efficiency by looking at points per possessions for play types, freelance pick and rolls, freelance posts, and freelance isolation actions. They'll also track mismatch attempts for isolation and posts, as well as mid-range and three-point shooting possession. See, it doesn't say anything about user control. Everything is just AI, but that's one thing I think 2K needs to work on, is giving the users more control over, all those little aspects in the game. Even if it's just like toggle switches, just on and off, maybe 3-tier toggle switches, and just allow us to just control a lot of that stuff in the game. I think it'll be a lot better for us. So, defensive improvements. This is why I actually wanted to make this video, because I feel like they focused on a lot of good things for the defensive improvements. Last year, we built and rewrote almost all our major defensive systems. This year was all about refining them to deliver our best effort to date. Every phase of our defensive game has improved, from transition defense, where we can identify the ball handler has been picked up, allowing anchor to leave the paint and get to their man, to making the no 3 setting work as intended. This right here is one thing that really annoyed me over the last how many years. Like, you would have it set and it still wouldn't work. Like, players would still go to the paint and leave the wings wide open all the time, and it's very frustrating to even have it on there. That's why most of the time I would just pick wall up in the transition defense, because I think that actually worked better than the no 3s. So it's good to see that they actually fixed that. So I'm going to give that a try when I'm playing to see how it goes, see how it worked out. Rotations are sharper and more varied. Pick and roll defense is tighter and smarter. And this year, players can choose to turn off drive, pick and roll. Wow, we can actually turn off the drive, pick and roll. That's nice. We've also improved cutter to help individually, as well as have more control over their defensive focus. Now, one thing I didn't mention when I was talking about the blog is that 2K actually, where is it? I don't think did I do it here? No, it wasn't this. It wasn't this article. It was over here. Pretty sure it was this. Yeah, this right here. This is the Polygon article. This right here returns to next gen. When 2K went to next gen, they took out the lead passing that was in current gen. You can still do it on current gen, but you can't do it on next gen. And it was such a frustrating experience where you're trying to get to the rim and you have no ways of getting your defender there other than to press like a few buttons and then cause that player to go to the basket. So now you just have to look at the defender you want to cut. You press Y on Xbox or triangle on PlayStation, and that player will cut to the basket. And if you don't want to pass it, you just hold down the B button or whatever that is on PlayStation, and the player will fake the pass. So you don't have to fully dedicate the pass. So that was a good addition to next gen. It was a very missed mechanic on next gen, and it really annoyed me when I'm trying to get to the rim and the defense is really clamping down. There's also a new spot up mechanic in the game. We'll see how all this stuff works when the game comes out. Okay, anyways, back to defense. So NBA 2K23 also features performance-based defensive adjustments, which is a good thing. But I think they already had that in the game, because if your guy is getting 20 points in the first half, the AI is going to make the adjustment regardless. So in the past, we knew how many points and assists the leading scorer had on offense and would make adjustments based on that information. However, the adjustments the AI made had to be generic because it wasn't obvious how given a player racked up that scoring and assist total. This year, our refactored success and action engine can track exactly how scorers are doing their damage. This engine can decipher post-scoring, off-screen actions, isolation, and whether or not players are getting buckets at the rim. It can detect spot-up shots versus players who like to come down and fire up long-distance threes after a few dribble moves. In each of these scenarios, have their own defensive adjustments that the AI will automatically roll out depending how efficient the scorers are making shots. As a user with adaptive engine turned on, these adjustments will automatically be made for you. But if you choose, you can also make your own adjustments using the defensive settings. So that's a great addition. They need to put that on offense too. The defensive AI is stingier with sending help until we know the opponent can actually take advantage of a particular opening. So players will sag off of, if you have like a center at the three-point line, players will just sag off of them. So that's good. I'm pretty sure that's been in the game too. So as long as everything is improved, you'll notice the difference. So at the beginning of games, you may notice drastically less help as your teammates wait to see if your opponent can actually take advantage of an open lane compared to last year. Of course, you're free to turn off auto adjustments and make your teammates help right from the jump. That's the way you want to run your defense. So I like how in defense they tell you can turn stuff off, because like I said, anything automatic in this game is kind of like, you're kind of like fighting with the game. And I really hope next year, when 2K24 comes out, they actually do the same thing for offense and actually give us more control on how we want to, run the offense. Because sometimes when you come down the court and players are just like, it's like a robotic thing. Like you come down the court, if a play is already picked, the AI will just run the play regardless of what's going on the court. Because when you come down, you might quickly see like a mismatch that you want to take advantage of, but the way the offense is already formed and the way they want to run it automatically prevents you from sometimes taking advantages of mismatches and stuff like that. So closing remarks, this year on both ends of the court you'll see improved gameplay that should translate to more wins and more seamless actions. We can't wait for the community to experience this year's gameplay, explore all new features, and discover a lot of hidden things we've snuck into the game. So yeah, they probably got a lot of random stuff in the game that we'll probably notice, that they won't advertise. You know, they do that every year, but it's cool. You know, explore the game, I guess. NBA 2K23 hits the shelf September 9th, blah, blah, blah. Make sure you get pre-order. But I like what they did with the defense as an offline player. I like what they did. So I pretty much said my piece on how I feel about the offense. A lot of the AI this, AI that. Yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of that. But as long as the AI is more reactive to situations organically, I guess it's not a bad thing. So I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think of this gameplay blog, and I'm going to catch you guys on the next video. All right, peace.